probably those could be encouraged depending on the type of venture that you want to enter into. But we are talking of is zoning nakuti a neighbor dzulo anapika nyama and iweyo nakaa mwina 3 weeks 4 weeks nyama suna yone, and the appetite is high, so you just think of ananeso nyamaso ndi maziwa kumena magula. These are the borrowings we are talking about. Now, when you are in this situation of borrowing from A to B to C to D, ntauni anthu amadziwa kunoto amakongola kwambiri ndi awawa, andiso amadziwa kuti awasapereka ngongole. And the guys amene amabwerekesa aja, they normally discuss, they know each other. So amanena akabwera kwa inu tamwene munkwezere interest amene. Now, because you still want to borrow, amanena kuti chani choenda enda chimakumana ndi sabwe enda imakumana ndicha right? So you find yourself paziwomba zimakhala mtown zija amwene andimafuna kungobwereka 50,000, and those guys are very quick. They don't care where you're coming from. They will give you same day, probably within 30 minutes you have the 50,000. But you know what? The interest rate. They will ask you, muzilipasa 50,000, muzilipasa 50% per mwezi. You have borrowed 50,000, month end you have to pay 75,000. Akulu, what type of business are you doing? Yoti mukabeze 25,000 interest or profit. Mukabeze 50,000, mukabeze 25,000 yeyo. Komanso nyu mveze poke nakake. What type of business can you do? Even it a color business, makamba za consumption. Koma even it a color business, I don't think this can work. These guys are called loan sharks. The guys are ruthless. When the day of repayment reaches, sometimes some upanga ni chipongwe. Let's assume you are supposed to pay on 31st December, but you are supposed to pay on 31st December. Amatawa. Munwake wangongole uja, mena na kukongoza uja amatawa pamene bacha. You know what? Akufuna uti ufike pa 1 January, ukapereka another yani 25,000. They don't negotiate. Especially when they have heard that you have got some assets. Mwina ulindi kagali moto kabwino, ulindi nyumba ya bwino. That 50,000 one day it will be 2 million. That's what they do. There are so many people in town I've heard they have lost their properties just because of these loan sharks. And to many wabusa, I don't think I'm a bempera. They are ruthless guys. And unfortunately for us, we love borrowing. It's like part of our default mode. Borrowing is something that I would say it gives you a very quick solution to any financial problem. As long as you are able to borrow, then within a day the solution is found. That's how man probably was made. Part of his default mode is right channel. Is this the way how we should do things? First and foremost, what we need to do is in our homes, we need to sit down and say, what do we need as a family? What do we need in 5 years? What do we want to achieve in 5 years as a family as far as finances are concerned? And what would we need probably in 3 years or every month? That's the time we come up with the financial goals. Financial goals will help us to give us a direction in terms of where we want to be in terms of our finances. You need to set financial goals. I'll give you a good an example of financial goals. Let's say you are a student and you want to be a lawyer. You want to attain a PhD in law. If you ask me, or if you tell me that I want to be a PhD lawyer, maybe you say in 5 years, probably I will just simply laugh at you because I will not understand anything. Probably you are telling me, I will form 4. I will not understand. I would have as a lawyer, come as a dollar lawyer. PhD don't do a dollar then. As a dollar my come from 4. I will only understand when you tell me that I want to be a lawyer, I will attain PhD, but at the moment I've started classes, and those classes banobondayamba maklasi nagama cha paralegal. So I say, oh, but what does paralegal mean? Aya ndizina zake zokuza na ndilo ukachuka meno pama zafika diploma, ukachuka diploma umazafika so level ina kina koma zakala lawyer. Then I said, oh, okay. But I'll still not believe because I want to see it on paper. What I'm trying to say is, when it comes to financial goals, we set up long-term goals. And those long-term goals, on their own, they seem to be unrealistic. You are talking of what I want to build a house like a building like Chayamba. People ask, what does he have? But if I tell you, so far, I've already done A, B, C, D. I've got 10 properties. Then With these properties, I'm thinking of disposing 5 of them. Then I'll have a billion. Then after a billion, then I'll ask probably one of the banks to partner with. People will now start understanding what you are talking about. So let's have the long-term goal. Yes, it's important. But that long-term goal has to be cascaded into the short-term goals. These short-term goals are the means of achieving the long-term goal. I think this slide is talking about the same thing. To achieve this long-term goal, you prepare smaller goals in support of that long-term goal. And these smaller goals, they form part of the budget. You come up with a budget. My goals are long-term. Mukazatsitsa mpaka na short-term, you come up with a budget. Mind you, budget ukamba za personal finance. If it was a corporate organization, maybe they would come up with their own maybe long-term budgets. But we are talking of budgets that we need to implement. And these budgets normally, zikakaza pakomu, we have to do them on a monthly basis. Once you have a budget, or what is a budget? A budget, in the simple terms, is a list of incomes against expenses. But you remember we're talking about goals. Those goals, they form part of that budget and they are the priorities. The main priority are those goals. In life, what do you want to achieve? And you talked of the long-term goal. You cascaded it to a short-term goal. That short-term goal, mukamabanga budget, that is the first thing that has to be on that budget. Otherwise, ndekuti ipezeka kuti olo budget yomukapanga ikhayo sokonekera, it will be meaningless. You remember we had these questions, where does all my money go? And they are saying budgeting will allow you to know where your hard-earned money goes. You remember we had that question, eh? Where does my money go? If you have a budget will show you where your money goes. When will I be able to pay off all my loans? The first thing that you have to do is making the future financial plans. This is the one that I was talking about, the long-term goal versus the short-term goal. In this case, you are preparing a budget. It has to be a short-term goal. How am I going to be able to afford? It's a question. To afford what? A car? A house? School fees? Budgeting, it will help you to limit the unnecessary spending. so that you should be able to meet what you want to afford. The budget imakanga kuti kusesa kuti yayi achikulire izi yayi tazidikirani kaye izi yayi paja munatilonjeza kuti mupanga go yanu ndi yakuti so ife tutibweramo ndife a go number 1 munatipatsa aja. Of course china chilichonse chimafunika kuti once you have done it, you have to remain faithful when it comes to implementation. Nanga soma kati wachilemba weka, so ukhoza kuchilemba chabwinobwino komanso ndichiphwasulaso ndekuti wangotaya nthawi yako ya planning chani. But when you are serious, this thing works. I remember when I got married, before I got married, when I qualified as a chartered accountant, that time I was in Lilongwe. So I got my interviews in Lilongwe. Then I was offered a job at KPMG. Surprisingly, I was told that the vacancy was in Blantyre. I thought I would be in Lilongwe. So I accepted. I came here. I was putting up at a friend. I was there for 14 days. Then I found my own house. Chakwakamba uko pafupi ndi Nzikiti. Now, a friend of mine came, because we were together at KPMG. So one of the weekends he came, Nampasa direction. He was not chartered. So he was at home. So anandifuza madala. Inu achachazo na kumakhala kanyumba kake kameneka. I think if it means kuchatula, kani zake izizi, then I don't want to be a chartered accountant. He didn't know that I had my own plans. I had set up my own goals. And a house in Nyambadwe na Miwawa at that time was not my priority. But to him, anangofira utali ensaka kauti ndi chartered accountant ndio taina ukakhala kunyambadwe kuna Miwawa zoterozo. I had my own plans. So it was not a priority. It was not in my budget. I was not ready to have a garden boy, a nanny, and other guards. No, drama yake iti. So these are some of the challenges that we go through, but we have to be very clever. Most of the times, the budget will tell you where you are going wrong. A budget is a simple thing. It doesn't require kuti ka unalo ankalasi ka sunalo enkalasi. No. A budget is a simple thing. As long as you are able to count your money, and as long as you are able to know that is in ndalama zobwera and is in ndalama zotuluka, then you'll be able to prepare a budget. Make sure you prepare one, which should help you kuti ndalama zimene ndikutolera o ndalama zimene ndikupeza kandi pa mwezi kandi pa wiki. If it's per week, you can even prepare a weekly budget. It doesn't harm. In fact, a weekly one is much better than a monthly one, because not uzichita follow bwino kwambiri. Supezeka month end ukumana ndizija ndimanena zijotakazanga mandifusa kuti munali ndi 100 koma zimene mukundionesa apa tizungokwana 80. Where is the 20,000? I had spent it probably some 7-10 days ago. I couldn't remember. Ndeuma zakumbukira kanthu kakang'ono but I also bought a jumbo of 70 kwacha. You can imagine. Instead of remembering big things, umakakumbukira tinthu tating'ono. Nanchi ukakhala kuti unatenga ndrama inake nkumpasa munthu wina, imene makhala number 1 kuikumbukira. Wina wake so paja nampasa tu ndrama paja mnati wachibale uja timpase 2,000. Imene ndo maikumbukira. So we need to prepare budgets. Ma budget oti azitha kutithandiza. Now, the budget will tell you how much funds you'll be expecting, probably per week or per month. When you'll be expecting, let's say 40,000. Then you have your expected expenses. My priorities. I mean, now, unali my priorities. Oti ndikufuna ndipange ABCD aja. Unachoka nao kuma goals aja. You fit in that one. Then you fit in those that are in a survival mode. Obviously, you need to fit in food. Nanga ukhala upanda chakudya. So you need to budget for food. You need to budget for rent. We call those ones as needs. Some needs kwa ine sizingakhale ma needs kwa inuyo. I'll give you an example. When I started work, that was a long time ago. I was working in Kanengo, staying in area 18. My father had a car. Before I started work, every time where my dad was going, ndoti makhala kuti nane ndili kumbuyo nangasi choncho masiku amenewo. Koma when I started work, ndimababada kuchoka kwe 18 kupita ku Kanengo wa pansi kupita ku ntchito. We had the intercities at 15 tambala, if I can remember, or 5 tambala. I think they were charging 5 tambala, if I can remember. Maybe I was receiving, maybe, I can't remember, mwina 10 kwacha kapena, or mwina 5 kwacha, I can't remember. But to me, transport, kutindizikwera that intercity, to me, it wasn't a need. I hope you get it, eh? To me, it wasn't. I could do away with it. When I was there, my friends would go for lunch. I remember I would go for Nzimbe, which was we would take Nzimbe as our Coca-Cola, and he would buy mbata at Ayopika. That was our life. There were some guys that would go for sima ina kama zapika yazi bamboja timatijani. I've just memo, yeah, they would go for memo. We couldn't afford the memo if so to me memo was not a need to me at that time. My need inali imene yoti ndichite budget for nzimbe ndi at least yoti ndikagule mbatata. So even today, even as we are here, we could have different needs and different wants. We could prepare a budget. Mwina ndipanga prepare a budget mwona kuti ma need yanga to you mwina kala they will not be your needs, they will be your wants. It depends on your how much you are earning, how much you are able to realize. As long as whatever you have embedded in the budget does not exceed what you are expecting to receive, then you are home and dry. Because the day you prepare a budget and your budget shows the money that you are expecting to receive is less than the expenses or what you want to incur, then you go into a vicious cycle. You need to make up the good of that deficit. And where do you get it? So don't prepare a budget ndikukasiya pena pake ka chance kuti akandikakongolerapo tikwanire. No, that is not a budget we are talking about. These the budget that you do come up with, that probably deficit element ikhaleonena kuti mwina you've got a contract, you want to supply some things and your budget can't afford that. You want probably, let's say, 500,000 or 200,000, and you sell it from 200,000, you sell it probably at 250,000, then you can borrow. But make sure where you are borrowing, the 200,000 you borrow plus the interest should not exceed the 250,000 that you get at the end of the day. There are so many people, some of my friends, they have ventured into so many businesses. I remember I have a very good friend of mine. He had 5 trucks, big trucks, very big, 30 tons trucks. To my surprise, every year, truck imodzi imafa mapachika. But every year, this guy would come with some checks. Amwene tabwirako bwino. Abwanji andi ndi check cha 8 million, andi ndi check cha 10 million, andi ndi check cha 20 million. But you see that year, truck imodzi yafa, grounded. Go second year, truck imodzi yafa, grounded. You know what was happening? The guy didn't know that he was using his own, he was eating on his own trucks. It was not profit. Whatever he was getting was less than the business itself. There was no profit. So amata akakalandira cheke chija chimakhala kuti mina ndicheke chimene anachitamwo invest less than insonda amene walandira, but he didn't know. Probably if he had a budget, the budget would have highlighted immediately. It would have shown a red flag somewhere that, my friend, this is not on. So he would borrow from me. I said, "Funa 1 million if it matandi that." Amene 1 million indimenewa simuzati pasamuka kolola awo mukamaliza kunyamula foja. Yes. So abwera ndi cheke cha 10 million chija aona kuti ndalama sikukwana. We have to be very careful when we are preparing my budgets. We need not to depend on one source of income. Ndalama zimavuta kuti zikwanire. And if it's possible, let's try as much as possible to have some other sources of earning some bit of cash. They get their income through salary, and the salary timagamba za net salary, that's the salary that we talk about. And that one, let me remind you, kuti timachosapo 10% of the gross, it goes to tithe. I'm not talking of net, ngatana kuuzani kuti muzilandira 200,000 ndikuti mwina kuchosapo 20,000 ndikukapereka kuti kukapereka ku nyumba yake ya Yehova. Nde pali madolo ena ndalama icha makhauta nadyeratu kale. Payday chamangokhala mwadzina tsopano kuti afika payday. Salary yolowa ku banki mwina 17,000. Munthu akwena kupereka 20,000. And the Bible is only asking for 10%. Koma yeyo watsala ndi 17,000. Ndekuti pa 15 anapita kwa bwana nakadandaula, bwana kunyumba kusizili bwino yayi. Bwanji sindingatenge salary in advance. Na bwana okay, ndeti ngokupasako pang'ono. Nde ampasa komano amakhali ndi ngongole mwina 10 15 zina from the same from the employer. And this is not good at all. Sometimes we could get some income through the businesses that we do. I remember my business tikamapanga, venture into businesses that you know, not businesses that you just want to try. I remember Mr. Nkoma, when he was making his presentation, he talked of mbuzi. Someone buys mbuzi just because he has heard kuti auti kwina kwake mukumaka kuli ma contract okasiya mbuzi. So he buys mbuzi, he doesn't even know kuti how to rear them. Kayampa ati masiku timene toti simama car transit from where you've bought, probably umagula apa ziwiri apo zitatu apo 4, so you are supposed to have somewhere to keep them. Dema pezeka ka 1 week kata, while you are looking at that, then you want to deliver. Before you deliver, you had probably 100. You see you only have maybe 15. 85 gone. That is a big loss. So don't go into some businesses just because a neighbor akupanga business imene awidziwa iwo yambuziyo iwe sukuidziwa yayi asireni. Of course it doesn't harm to learn from amene amapangao. Ask them amapanga bwanji. If you trust them, probably ask for a partnership. Kuti akatika mkamagwa mugwere limodzi. And if he's a guy ota mapanga obviously ndekuti sanga obviously ndekuti simugwa yayi. Yeah, you trust kuti aziyenda bwino. So let's venture into businesses that we feel they are worth doing them, not just because we've copied from somewhere. There is also a possibility of earning some income through interest. There are some people, when they have some excess funds, budget jamukazaivanga nthawi zina umazapeza timanena kuti togwa mchiswe kuntchito. You didn't budget kuti akutumiza kulilongwe kuti ukagwire ntchito, so amawapasa ma allowance aja opitira beka size. Amaza kupasa ndalama yoti ukagonere, you are getting 100,000, koma on that particular day akuza kuti ukakha 5 days and akupasa 200,000. So you plan well, you make your own plans. You can't go for a lodge and pay 40,000 a day. No, you can't do that. So you may end up with some funds, excess funds, which were not in the budget, and budgeted funds. Those funds, they were funds. So we are lucky here. We have Mr. Bena. Ask him. He will direct you where to deposit those funds at a better interest. Then probably every month you get some interest. It's also possible to get funds or to have income through rentals. The issue of rentals, having a house is something which we need to think very seriously. Sometimes we make a mistake. The moment I talked of a house, thinking of millions and millions of kwachas that need to be invested in that probably house. Let me shock you. Do you know that most of the executive management in companies are staying in rented houses, not their own houses? Probably the company is renting for them so that they should be able to have those houses, they should accommodate those houses, but the houses are not theirs. Now, the shock comes here. The same company see a messenger. He has 3 houses. Mwina kuchilobwe. Iwe ndi kuchilobwe komwe, mwina ndi chief executive, kuchilobwe komwe, you don't have even a house this messenger has. Why? You are still waiting kuti ndalama zizakwaneka kuti ndizamange nyumba, my dream house. My friend, you are just chasing the wind. Start now. Whatever you can, start now. You start earning rental income. Musadikire kuti ndalama zizakwane, ndalama sizimakwana. I remember I had a friend. There was a certain car ndangoyiwala. This guy used to keep money in the bank. So he would go to a showroom and the car was at 600,000. That time, maybe he had 550,000. So he said, okay, let me work a bit. I should get the 50,000. So he worked. He was at 600,000. So he went back to the showroom. He found the vehicle at 650,000. Then he went back. Then he said, it's at 650. I think this time I'll work hard. I'll reach 650. He reaches 650. He went back. The car was at 700,000. Please don't keep chasing the wind. It's a sign that this guy was chasing the wind. osangogula galimoto ina yake imene inali pa nthawi imeneyo yogwirizana nayo bwanji. So too is the issue I'm talking about, maybe construction. You start in a small way, a humble way. You may have funds through royalties. Normally we have my colleagues, these guys there, they are good musicians, so they develop DVDs, nice songs, and at the end of the day, once the songs are on the internet, you start earning something in form of royalties. So your skills will pay you off. So you need also to think about that. Others are dividends and capital gains. These are part of the income elements. Expenses, I touched on expenses a little bit, on the needs and wants. Let's have a rule here that should guide us in terms of how do we budget when it comes to expenses. Maybe we can spend 50% of whatever we are getting towards the food, rent, water, electricity, and to others, the transport. As I told you, in those old days, transport wasn't a need for me. But today, maybe it's a need. So you may budget for that as your priorities. You may also budget for wants. 10%. Maybe. But my wants, these are the things. When the budget goes haywire, this is the first thing that you should remove. The wants. You budgeted utapita kumangochi, ku holiday chani, and let's say the income that you were expecting sinabwere. Obviously, the first thing that you should chop off in the budget is that trip to Mangosh. And you remain with at least pay rent, buy food. Unfortunately, sometimes you find this guy, he still goes ahead with this Mangochi trip. The income he was expecting sina bwere, but he continues out. Amwene panatatu patajaga sina biro Mangochi ya. And when he's back, azambe kulimbana ndikubweza ngongole. So, make sure the wants are the least in terms of ranking. It's something which you can probably chop off even in your dreams. Kuzuka mawa kungonora, I think my own sanga on sendajosa, naika po 10%, bas zo sendajosa. 10% imene ndupita ndukagulira ndukaponya oche ndukafusa bwana Bena kuti amwe ndi 10,000, what should I do with the 10,000? Bwana Bena akakuzanira kuli Malawi Stock Exchange amalola ato 10,000. Mukaitaya kumeneko. After 2 years azakuzana kuti kuli 30,000 ndiro zatengani 30,000. Now, on wants, there's this thing that I don't like. When you are in town, and that one my bank. I'm talking much about Bwana Bena. Bwana Bena used to work in the bank. So these people are very clever. Anaika my ATM. Now na my ATM. Especially at night, what the ATM does. Kama kuitana, kama when you are passing by, umaona kuti umachita kuzoto pali ATM hapo. Ukudusa pali ATM hapo. Kama kaka kuitana, that is calling you. Inu muganiza anaikira njitimenti. Akanata ungoika magesa as these ones, osa kalanso ndi 2020. But that 2020 is calling you. Now the funny thing with money, you go there, umaza kumbukira kuti kunyumba kulibe bread. Sichoncho, kunyumba kulibe bread, eh? So you go by ATM badge. How much is the bread? A loaf of bread? Probably, let's say 1,000 for argument's sake. One loaf is 1,000. So you go at the ATM, ati kurukira ma ATM, techita assume kuti amapereka even 200 kwacha, 500 kwacha kupereka. Ndo mafika pa ATM pacha umazapanga panchi. You want to buy bread. Nde imaza kufunsa how much do you want? 5,000, 10,000, nde umaza nguponya 10,000. But bread is 1,000, eh? So you go in a shop, you buy your bread, wasarandinaini, nde amaza kudusa wina wake ndi chitrole chake, chodzaza. It's full. That trolley is full. Ndo mazangu sugar. Masambati. Kuma mwana ndesa akaja ku biscuit. Ukamachoka mshopu imene. You don't have the 10,000. Was that in the budget? So if it was not in the budget, what you have done is wajandalama ya china chake. If you had not paid rent by that time, it means mina mwajaya rent. And the landlord comes following day. Achimwene masiku apita tunafuna ko mutiganizire. What do you do? Ndiye makala kuti landlord wake so masewera yai. So you have to please the landlord, and you end up to those sharks. Walo wa mkatapira. Ma sharks ni makatapira. Walo wa mkatapira, and katapira guys ndi chipinjo. Please, if there is some here, we better think over it. When you are faced with situations like this, in terms of what you are earning not meeting your expected expenses, nthawi zina umaena kungovala zilimbe kunotakula akulu. Enough is enough. I need to take drastic measures. I remember there was a time I was jobless, my wife was jobless, our children were at Karibu Academy. So it was a bit tough to make sure that they were provided with school fees. So we sat down and we said, yes, this is the time to make tough decisions. So we moved the children from Kariba Academy to government schools. It was not easy. And you may think that we are a bit inconsiderate. We also made our own actions. Me and my wife, we said, I say, sopano ana wandezi mene zitapanga status yawo ndoti yatsika. Akapita ku school amafunsanza muchokera kuti achokera ku Kariba Academy. So muchoka ku Kariba Academy mubwera kuno why? So we told them, guys, there will be peer pressure there, but you have to contain it. I remember that time the car that we had broke. So I remember my wife putting on that Mvano uniform and saying bye to me. Akupita kuchali cha ukakwera minibus. Yet everyone knew kuti she was driving that time a Porsche car at our level that time, but it was broke. To me and to her, repairing that vehicle at that time, it couldn't fit under a need. At that time, it couldn't fit under a need, so it was not a priority. We couldn't part away with the 200,000 versus the probably 300 wacha okwerera minibus. So I said, to hell with this 500,000 of repairing the vehicle for the time being. What I'm trying to say is there are times when we need to accept bitter pills in life. When things get tough, when someone is sick, mukampasa mankhwala akamala vula olo akamakana, you should know kuti ameneyo moyo ukanalipo. Ameneyo ali ndi moyo. Times do come whereby you take whatever comes on your mouth. You don't even know. Zoti kana kumwetsa kulolo kwini. You don't even know. You simply take it. These are the times when you accept bitter pills. These are the times you move from one area to another. Ngati umakhala nyumba ya zipinda ziwiri umapita ku bed sitter. Ngati mumayendera magalimoto atatu, husband, wife, mwana, wina kunyamuka apita town 7:30, wina akuta kunyamuka 8 o'clock, wina kunyamuka 9 o'clock. Koma nonse mupita town. You say, guys, this is the time to accept bitter pills. Nde makandi roster, kama makandi chani, malemba, pamene pachi kunyumba kucha, so you have to write, akulu, basi ya tuiso panezinyamuka 7:30. these two vehicles grounded. You have no choice. You have no choice. Imakhala kuti it's temporary. Sikuti zimakhala kuti zakhala choncho mpaka na muyaya. Imakhala temporary. So we have to accept these temporary measures. You say, for the time being, I think, let me accept this. Because I know that tomorrow it will be brighter than today. When you are looking at the debts, paying off these loans, when you have a number of loans, make sure you clear off tingongole ting'ono. That mango it's a nuisance. Timango kubwelesa and you are not comfortable with them. Akuimbira phone or abwera akufesika kuti sometimes pana bwana mafunsa opangobwera bwanji. So pamakati ngongole ting'ono. I think you need to clear those ones first. And you also have to consider, and sometimes you have some loans which have got a higher interest than others. Consider them first as well. Those ones with the softer terms, now when some men carry a bit of softer, you clear them last. I remember there was a time I lent someone 2 million. Then immediately after doing that, I found myself jobless. So I went to this guy. I asked him to say, would you pay me in 6 months? And this is the 4th month, you haven't paid me anything. And the guy said, my friend, I don't owe, you are not the only one that I owe. In fact, I've got 60 million debt. So I sat down with the guy. I said, my friend, the 60 million, I'm going to do my fagari. But he was doing some business, and that business, what he was getting per month, it was, I think, about 6 million. I'm talking of sales. I'm not talking of profit. It was, I think, 6 to 8 million a month. And he was probably, the profit was probably 2 million a month. So what I did was we couldn't agree at first. So I sent my boys. So they went there and they pounced on him. But pouncing, not necessarily physical. What they did, they went there and snatched the vehicle. And that was in Chikwawa area. As he was passing through Kamuzu Bridge, the guys were stopped by police. And that time was very clever. So I managed to convince the police. So we took the vehicle home. Then later on, I think I came to my senses that no, this is not my area of business. I think I'm a Christian, and I think business is going to vote. So I offered myself. I said, can I see the debt profile that you have? So he showed me. I think there were about 19 people. that this guy was owing. So I said, okay, I want to help you. We should reschedule these loans. I want to help you. So call all those guys. So we met at ShopRite. Now, I started discussing with the guys. Of course, anandiukira. They thought this guy now, muna wandiripira 2 million yanga ichananga. I'm siding with this guy now. But I said, no, guys, you know what? If each and every guy keep on pouncing on this one, Tipezekatonse will not get whatever we were owed. But let's do it nicely. So, I ended up being one of the managers to look after the funds of that business. So I was signing checks. No check would pass before I say yes, because I was a signatory. So I was doing that, and I was the one who would determine, let's pay this guy first and not this one. So we started with those that were in the issues were in courts because of the charges, and they would come, the sheriffs. So I said, no. Let's settle these first. So we did that. First year, the debt moved from around 60, 70 to around 45 million. We went into second year. The debt moved from 45 million to around 12 million. Third year, we cleared the debt. The guys were free at last. But what happened was that we were able to negotiate with those 19 guys. There was also a bank, Standard Bank, 15 million. There was MRI inclusive. So we were able to negotiate with those people to reschedule the loans. So what I'm trying to say is I'm talking of a company perspective, but this also applies to us. If you have a debt portfolio, sometimes make sure you come up with the list of those you are owing, and think of discussing with each and everyone for a possible change of repayment terms. If you are paying probably 20,000, the budget will tell you kuti ndikapanga izizi ndizitsala ndimakuti yotsalayo ndimeneno, you can say that I think you got 5,000, I'll be able to pay you every month, and not the 10,000 we agreed earlier on. So sit down with all those you are owing and set up a target. Could it probably in the next 3 to maybe 4 months or a year, I should be able to clear all debts and be a free man. As I said, borrow when it's necessary, and you only borrow when you know that you have the funds that you want will go into business ventures. Don't borrow for consumption. Let's build wealth so that we should be able to give. Lastly, When you are in debt, live a modest life. When you are in debt, muntu akulu zina zitu sizimapanga sense. Lero takambirana wanduza kuti uzindipatsa 5,000 ndavomera 5,000 then ndapita ku town mukuja kuja town keeps KFC, yes, KFC. Ndapita ku KFC ndendi kupeze uli tayari pamene pachandi banja lako. Akulu. Does that make sense? Ndakukhulukira kuti ase okay chabwino undipatsa pang'ono ndi ndikapeza KFC basi uli pamene pacha kulimbana nacho kumene uchi. Try to live a modest life. Usamapezeke mmalo monena kuti At least your conduct should be able to demonstrate that you are also doing your part. Should not only be the lender doing his part. Also do your part. Naye nswazira akakuona kuti kumamwene nzanga uja kumano akuvuti. As long as you know that is temporary. Kunja kucha. As long as you know kuti kunja kuzatani kudzacha. It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes ndimapita town. Ndimakumana ndazinzanga. Ena ndikuenda pansi. Ndazinzanga amandimira. Achikulire. Kodi mazo wa transport ni mazoria ndikujoga. Ndikujoga. Ndimena kujoga at least 3 kilometers a day. But you get used. Then later, you find yourself kuti kaya anza kwacha mwina mmapezeka no mwamba kukumana kani mahotelo muchacha nanga soma khauti weso kwacha tsopano. And no one would remember zoti tsikunaka nakuona kuti kujoga. Kwacha, no se kwacha. So always remember, it's not easy, but it is worth doing it. Amen.
And this has been powerful. But today we have learned a lot. Amen. And as I said, let us take these things and practice them. Video ilipo tikamba kuponya ndizanga have. Let us go through them again. Amen. Let us all rise to our feet for a short time. Let us say, Father, I thank you for the word that you have given today, for the wisdom that we have received. Father, I pray that I have received the grace, I have received the ability to go and practice what I have learned. My financial position will no longer be the same. As I enter 2023, I enter with fresh vision, with fresh goals to see myself free in the area of finances. Let us begin to pray. Father, I thank you. Father, I thank you for the word, for the wisdom. I pray, Father, that from today we have learned things, the mysteries of finances, that we'll be able to work our finances, that our lives will no longer be the same. We will move, oh God, from every crisis, from all the mismanagement of our finances. We are going to do better. We are going to do better. We are going to do better in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Let us clap hands for Jesus for the second time. Amen. Let us take our seats, please. So, as we said that this is the last School of Success for this year. We are going to have the first one again. I think it's on 13th of January. So I think we have necessary tools that will help us in 2023 to do better. Amen. So we are dismissed. As we are going, if you prepared for an offering, you can give at the back. Thank you so much.